Now, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wealth and Wisdom Show. I am your host, Tyler Kryling, and I have a very special guest joining us today. It's going to be a little bit of a different episode because there's no question for you to think about because I have been waiting for months to connect with this guest, and I'm really excited to have him. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like you to welcome Stathis and Antonakopoulos, the CEO of Carnegie Hospitality Management, one of, as far as I can tell, one of the larger hospitality groups in New York. Stathis, welcome to the show. Why don't you give a second to explain your background and who you are so as we get started here?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be in this podcast with you. I've been following you as well all this long and trying to find the time to do it, and today is the day. We're here in New York. We own Carnegie Diner and Cafe. We currently have 7 locations open. We're building 5 more, and we're about to sign a few more as well. In addition to that, we operate Voco Roof Bar in the heart of Times Square, and we also own Dilos Greek Restaurant, a fine dining Greek restaurant with phenomenal food. So for us, hospitality is a way of life. We started the group in 2019, and we're very excited because we grew organically just from the love of the people coming in our restaurants.
That, Stathis, I have to be honest with you. That's something that I thought was really interesting when I was reading about your bio on Carnegie's website because such a strange little memory unlock. So when I was graduating with my undergrad in finance from UVU, one of the jobs that I applied for was a small private equity fund here in Utah. They're in southern Utah. They're focused more on skincare and wellness. That was kind of their shtick, but they had a little bit of hospitality in it as well. And it was so interesting because that was one of the questions they asked me is like, if you were going to go back to, basically, if you're going to go to New York and take someone with you, what restaurant would you take them to? And I was looking through Google because, when my wife and I went, well, first up, when I was in high school and I was a poor student, so we didn't do much fine dining. And then when my wife and I went back to celebrate her graduation, our goal was to see Broadway because she loves Broadway. So we saw a couple of restaurants, but more than anything, it was like eating on the go kind of stuff. But I think I saw Voco. I think that's one of the things that I saw when I was looking up a list because I was like, these are private equity guys. I can't just tell them the sports bar we went to, which was very, very good off of Madison Square Gardens. But I
No,
was like, there's
that's
no
the other
way.
Voco hotel. The Voco that we opened this year in 2026, and this is on the Times Square. There is two Vocos. Vocos is part of the Intercontinental Hospitality Group,
Okay.
and the Carnegie Diner, the first one opened in 2019 across the street from Carnegie Hall on 57 and 7. And we're excited to grow this hospitality company. And in any business, even if you're in the private equity, or if you're a student, or if you are in the skincare product or clothing and stuff, hospitality is the core of whatever you do. Hospitality is not only the restaurant, it's not about the food, it's not about the drinks, it's about everything. It's how you're making the guests feel. So if people understand what hospitality is, it's about the feeling that the people having when they're having your product, and whatever the product is.
Right.
And everybody can forgive you about anything wrong that you can do to them if the product was not good or the service was not good, but they will never forgive you of how you make them feel, because and that's the core of our motto here in the company, is always making all of our guests be happy and make them feel amazing.
I appreciate that. One of the things, Stathis, that I'm seeing a lot right now, two things that I thought were really interesting is that first off, you've kind of hit at the core of what I think is driving business nowadays. And I'm going to explain why in just a quick second. First off, because we are mostly a finance and economics show, I wanted to put a couple of numbers past the listeners so they know kind of what we're working with. The current market size, according to Mordor Intelligence, for the hospitality industry is 247 billion, just a little bit over, with a compound annual growth rate of roughly 4.3%. between now and 2031. So growing, it's a stable growth rate, but it's still growing. And what I think people don't realize is that is about to drastically, drastically change. Obviously, I spend most of my time now studying AI and software. That's where a lot of the money's going now. But it's also minting, I did the math the other day, somewhere around 12,000 new billionaires, assuming OpenAI, Anthropic, and SpaceX all go public. And that's going to change a lot of industries, but especially the hospitality industry. Because when I was talking, before the show, we were talking about the new job I just got. I was telling the HR manager there, these people who are coming online into the millionaire bracket, they didn't have money. They're welders, they're janitors, they're cafeteria people, they're engineers. They're people who are now hitting that level of wealth earlier than their parents did. And unlike I'll say seeded millionaires would probably be the right term. People have been in the millionaire bracket for a while or the billionaire bracket. Those people start spending less because they have everything they need. They hit that threshold where they're like, this is the life I want. I don't need to eat out at all the fancy restaurants. I travel as much as I want, whatever. This new group of millionaires coming online, they're going to buy things. They're going to go stay at hotels. They're going to go to restaurants. And so I think that growth rate's going to change rapidly over the next 5, 10 years, depending on where the AI story goes. And it sounds like you guys are right at the forefront of it because the other insight that I noticed about this is that Gen Z, so my generation and the generation previous, are focused more on personalization. They're focused more on how you make them feel when they show up somewhere. They don't particularly care about so much the quality of inputs, we might say. So, like, oh, what thread count the sheets are, or what the room looks like. They care about what the experience was and how they felt after they left the experience.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm telling you hospitality is a lot more just food and drinks. It's everything else. But AI is here and it's here to stay and here for the long run. So whoever is against it, they unfortunately they're going to be staying behind. So the best thing to do with AI is to learn it fast, adapt
Hmm.
it, and then make it work for you. And we've been doing this from day one and we love it. And we've been using, three different AIs, everything for a different aspect of our business. We've been using Super Grok, we've been using ChatGPT, and we'll be using Claude, and we love everything. And the fact that a new millionaire is happening and all of that thing, this is the type of growth. And this is how the new era in the 2020s is gonna be happening. And and history has a tendency to repeat itself. And if you see it throughout the years, like when we had the steam and we used to use the trains for the steam, when the steam went out, everybody thought, "Oh my God, all this industry is gonna go out." The people that fix the steam machines and the charcoal and everything that they needed to burn. But the business is observing and adapts into the new eras. So right now, the young generations, the Gen Zs, and even the next generations that are coming, I think they call them Alpha or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
They're adapting and they're adjusting. My
Yes.
son is 12 years old and he has mastered AI and Google and everything. And I can't say anything without making sure that this is correct and searches, which I love it because it's keeping it real. So this
Yeah.
is what happens in business too every day.
Hmm.
We used to have to make a PowerPoint presentation that took us days and stuff. Now we can have it ready in like minutes, and it's amazing. You put the data in and you get it out right away.
Hmm.
The business aspect for the new millionaires and what they're going to be doing with the money. Everybody now looking for experiences.
Yes.
There's a tendency to change that expensive watch or car or anything like that. A car can take you from point A to point B if it's
Right.
worth 200,000 or 40,000. It's the same distance you're gonna have to do. So for you see the younger people, don't care so much about that stuff and care about how many more vacations they can take and more experiences. And this is also a result of the COVID because the COVID realizes, oh my God, what if, I die from COVID? What if
Right.
what I would have lived the life I wanted to live? And the mentality before COVID was you save money, you save and you retire and then you travel and live a little bit. Right now is YOLO, you only live once, make sure
Unfortunately, yes.
make yeah, yeah, but everything I like a motto that ancient Greeks used to say, and it was everything in moderation. And in
Right.
Greek pan metron ariston, everything in moderation. So if you manage to do everything in moderation in your life, from the small moments in your personal life, in your family life, in your work life, in your community life, then you can have a well-balanced life.
No, I absolutely agree. And I think from like a philosophical and like a life perspective, if we could sidebar a little bit on that, I think that is the point, because that's something I grew up hearing too. I come from a Christian community here in Utah, and that's one of the things that I learned. And I think what we're seeing right now on both sides of the aisle, both from, all the insane spending that's happening right now at the top of the income bracket and at the bottom and in the Gen Z bracket, it's people who went way too far to one side or the other. One of the things that I talk about with some of my friends who don't study finance as much as I do is, although like I am not in the camp of like we should redistribute billionaire wealth, I don't think that's fair. They earned it. They also don't buy things because they've ran out of things to buy. The reason why Jeff Bezos for decades bought back his own stock is that there was nothing on planet Earth that took so much capital that it would bother his personal balance sheet at all. And my generation, unfortunately, I think has tried to live that same extreme without the same level of assets and income. One of the shows my wife and I watch, I don't know if this is someone you've heard about, and that's fine if it isn't, is Caleb Hammer, the financial auditor. He's got a show called Financial Audit on YouTube. And that's one of the crazy things I hear is I heard all through growing up. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, business people, where it's okay to enjoy life. You have to work to get to the point where you can, but it's okay to enjoy it. It's okay. You're not going to take it with you. So there isn't really a
Absolutely.
point in penny pinching every single penny. You want to make sure your needs are met and your future's taken care of, but you also want to enjoy the journey. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people in my age bracket, because I'm Gen Z, um, have basically gone on the full, just YOLO, like you said, full enjoy life, where they're spending money they don't have and they're taking out debt to live that life, which is a serious problem. It's
That's
a very serious problem.
That's a mentality issue.
Right.
Spending money that you don't have, it's a mentality issue. Sometimes, unfortunately, is inherited either by family or colleagues or peer person. You should always live up to your means and what you're
For
making.
sure.
And if you're not enough what you're making, so then work to make more. We're living in the best country in the world. The opportunities is here every day. And it's up to you. I don't come from money. I came from nothing. I moved to this country 27 years ago as a student. I finished at Baruch College, my bachelor. And I did study business and marketing. I did dual major, and I did studies for masters in industrial psychology of online marketing. At the same time, I was always working in the hospitality business, and I was working from a waiter to a manager, and I'm self-made. I didn't,
That's awesome.
inherited or married into money. I worked my ass off to be where I am today. And I'm working 7 days a week. Everybody sees Carnegie has 10 locations total open and more coming. And they're like, I'm here 7 days a week. The only day that I'm not coming in my office is if I'm away on vacation or somewhere with my family. So,
Right.
so for me, and everybody's like, you don't take a day off. What is a day off? Day off is a rule that has been created to put you on a box and stuff. When you're realizing that there was never a box in the first place and there was never a rule, if you want to succeed, you can do. And it doesn't matter the amount of hours you're putting, but the quality of hours. So if I
Yes.
come here 7 days, I come on Sunday, after church and spend a couple hours doing my bills, this is how I'm getting ahead of the game on Monday. So for us, it's a small things that you do in your day life. In the army, we used to say, if you want to be successful, the first thing you have to do is make your own bed. And you have to
Right.
make your bed every day and never miss a day. And army doesn't let you get out of your bunkers without making your bed. And this is the structure and the mentality you have to have in your life and in your business. Because, everything comes, as I said, in moderation, but we live on rules, and those rules we have to obey.
Hmm.
And that's when I get upset when I see younger generations that spend money that they don't have, and doing stuff. But if you ask me, what is my biggest asset in my company? We have over 800 employees right now. So, and we started in 2019. So, in 7 years,
Wow.
my biggest asset in the company is that I have 11 full-time employees bought their own house just by working at Carnegie. So, for us, that's my biggest achievement that I have done because it's not 800 employees, it's 800 families we are
Right.
responsible of. This is the biggest weight I carry every day, and every decision we make and every choice that we do, it affects everybody. So when you have that kind of mentality, anything you do in your life, you will succeed, and you have to learn and adapt from your mistakes, or you learn and adapt from your environment. If something is not working, you have to change it on the spot, whatever that is.
Right. And that's really interesting. We're gonna dig into that a little bit because one thing that's come up very, very quickly. I'm actually writing an article about it right now for Wealth and Wisdom. It's gonna be coming out in a couple days. Is that one of the problems, I think, of what's happened with the AI hype is you have a whole bunch of, how did Ed Zitron describe it? A whole bunch of young boys who all they know how to do is spend money, but they don't know how to govern a company. And so I was going to ask you, someone who's living in New York, the center of capital, probably the center of capitalism in the world, definitely in the United States. Are you noticing a shift towards that kind of corporate stewardship mindset, back towards that? Because we had that like when my father was working, but it seems like in this recent last decade or so, or 2 decades of tech entrepreneurs and tech billionaires, they stopped seem to care. They stopped caring.
No,
And
I don't agree with that. I think people
okay,
care. I think people care, and I think the younger generations are adapting and adjusting. You're always going to have a mixture of both. You're going to have a mixture
right.
of people that care and a mixture of people that don't care. I don't know which one is bigger and which one is smaller, but in the majority, what I'm seeing from my employees, because I try to interact in a daily basis with almost all of them,
Okay.
going to restaurants, talking and stuff. Everybody has goals and lives and stuff, and then you're gonna have the employee that, although he knows he has a 7 a.m. shift on a Saturday, which is our busiest day, went out on a Friday night and he cannot walk and take the order because, oh, I was partying until 4 a.m. And then he tells me, like, it's okay. So that's employee has a wrong mentality,
Right.
and what do you do about it? You just ignore it? Do you discipline it and stuff? And our mentality here is that everybody's trainable. So we're trying to make them understand what they did wrong. Why you went out. It was your birthday. It was your mom's birthday. It was something extremely that you couldn't miss and stuff. When you know you have to work and stuff, this is a poor choice of yours because now you cannot perform well. And I will be forced to send you home because you affecting the livelihood of everybody else and your co-workers, because if we get a bad review of your performance, it's affecting everybody. And although I like you and you did a poor choice and stuff, and
Right.
and you have to train them and stuff, and it's like a father figure, but at the same time you have to be a mentor And the same time, you have to have empathy because maybe it was his 30th birthday, maybe it was his 21st birthday, and it was a day that it's the first day I can drink alcohol. The specific instance, it was his 21st birthday. And it was his first day. And I'm like, you should have asked off for the whole weekend. But he didn't want to lose the money. And then I'm like,
Right.
then you should go plan it ahead and stuff. You did the wrong choice and stuff. I understand, but it was his 21st birthday. So at the same time, you have to have empathy on that. So I didn't punish that individual, but definitely he understood that it was a wrong choice and everything that he didn't do the right thing. So, and that, a restaurant, a hospitality, it's a micro world of the bigger community. So
Right.
that's how I always see it because, that's how I'm getting a grasp of what's going on in the society and what's going on to the people. And I think that people care about money. I think people care about investing. I think people start realizing that investing in balloons that might pop is not gonna be the longer term plan.
Right.
So everybody, for example, was going crazy about Elon Musk's company that went public the other day, and
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
wanted to go invest and stuff. And I'm like, are you investing right now? And they're like, no, but this will be my first investment. And I'm like, great. So make sure that you invest money that you don't need and make sure that you invest, because I heard that too. Somebody went and borrow money to invest against that. I mean, this is not
Yes.
things that you should be doing. You should be working, making, and then the money you don't need, if you like to invest it, please do, but do it with people that know what they're doing. Don't do
Yes.
it because I have seen, oh, this new cryptocurrency coming and it's called ABC and hopefully it's gonna be very big one day. And then people go and lose money. People have to know what they're doing and have to
Yes.
get mentor of how financing is working. And this is
Right.
one of my biggest issue on universities because they don't teach you real life skills of how and to do what and stuff. And I see kids coming from universities
Hmm.
and don't have zero life skills and stuff. They're talking about a theoretical utopia that is not
Yes.
reality on the real world, and it's a hard landing for some people.
No, absolutely. And just a couple of points if I can add it. First off, this is not financial advice to anyone watching this show, but I study investing hours and hours a week on my spare time. I have traded my own money. I have written articles on it. I've read books and books and books about it. I've written papers on the subject in my undergrad. I've built portfolios. I've done the whole thing. And to this day, I have yet to find, and it's supported by strong empirical evidence, any single stock that on average over a long period of time can beat a low cost index fund. It's just not something that's mathematically possible to this point. Um, I laughed at SpaceX because their S1 was terrible. It was terrible. And, I haven't looked at a whole ton of S1s. I'm very new in this game, but I know enough specifically, especially because I've worked in the software world for 2.5 years now, where I was looking at it's like, okay, the biggest issue about starting new companies, you actually have to make money at this thing. It's
Correct.
it's different if you're a nonprofit and you're working off of donations and you're working off of investments and you're not making any profit, but you're trying to do something useful. I think that's a very noble thing to do, especially if there's social issues you want to solve. But if you're going to build a company, you actually need to know, okay, who's going to buy this and for how much? And in order to actually have that conversation, you need to have a realistic model of where your company's going. And SpaceX wasn't realistic at all. The fact that 99% of their total addressable market, which they're never going to achieve, everything I've ever seen when it comes to company building tells you you will never get your TAM. You might get a small portion of that, maybe 20%, maybe 40, but you're never going to get the whole thing. And the fact that 99% of that was based off of, AI in space.
So it sounds to me like it's a gamble. So I don't like gambling, and that's why the last 7 years, all of my money I invested in one company, and I will tell everybody. It's Carnegie Hospitality. So I have put all of my
Nice.
profits investing back to the company and growing it organically from the ground up. So for us, investing in real companies that you can touch and everything is good. And then if you want to gamble, you can always gamble and invest in many companies. Please don't
Hmm.
take it as an advice not to invest on SpaceX, or you should. It's your money, your choice. But at the same time, there are blue chips and they call blue chips for a reason. And then there are long-term investments and you have to understand why you're investing,
Right.
because a lot of people investing for the wrong reasons. You should invest for the long run. You should invest for growth and have the money. Maybe if you want to buy a house a day and grow faster than you make them and stuff. But at the same time, the daily investments and the daily tradings and all of those fast cash outs is not really happening as easy as people think. Don't
Right.
believe everything you see on TikTok, on any kind of YouTube shorts and stuff like that. A lot of people talk a lot big game, but in reality, maybe in debt. So coming back to the people watching this, it's all about, I believe in order to grow, first of all, you have to have a very good relationship with the mirror. If you don't have a good relationship with the mirror, and when you wake up in the morning and see the person in the mirror and be happy of who you are and what you are and what you do, and then everything can happen. If you don't like your job, if you don't like what you're doing, it's okay, change it. It doesn't matter if you study to be a teacher. If you don't like to be a teacher anymore and you would like to be a truck driver, do it. Nobody stops you. All these have tos and you have to do this and you have to do this. Those are all borders that we put in ourselves, and you don't have to do it. And that's what I tell everybody. Because if you're not happy what you see in the mirror in the morning, then you have to acknowledge it, and that's your first step to change. And if you're happy with what you see, that's great. Then make sure what you can do for your family. And then if
Right.
all your family is happy, then see what you can do for your community that you live in. And your community is you happy with what you're doing, then see what you can do for your work, your business, and eventually your country. And it should be that pathway. You cannot jump and see stuff doing stuff for your country because before you have fixed all of those steps. The country is very important and for all of us, but at the same time you have to fix all of those steps before you go to the next level.
No, yeah. I mean, you can't. It's the classic the airplane analogy, right? You have to put your own mask on first. This is
Correct.
something I tell people, and it actually does matter. We're running short on time, and I want to give you the last word here, but I think this is important because I heard it on another financial show the other day. If you have someone that is in the social justice warrior bracket, which most of my generation is, for better or for worse, that's what it is. You actually can't help people if you ruin your own life. You have to take care of
I,
yourself first and your community before you can go out and you can help the poor and you can help the less fortunate.
Absolutely. What I tell my people a lot, there is a movie from George Clooney. It's called Up in the Air. I don't know if you ever watched it, anybody.
I
And he goes in that movie and he does talks for companies and let go people and stuff. But he has this talk and he says, take a backpack and put inside everything you own. Put all of your clothes, all your money, everything. Okay, you put everything you own, your cars, your houses, great. Now put all of your friends. Great, you put all of your friends. Now put all of your coworkers. Now put everything that you thought of. Great, great. Now close the backpack, put it on your shoulders, and start walking. And if that walking you cannot do it, it's too heavy, you have to start taking things out, things that don't matter. and then you live inside the things that matter and the things that you like to carry with you. So having worries about, who is our president and what they're doing, having worries about who will be the president or what the president before did it, and all of that stuff, when it's things that you physically cannot handle, it doesn't matter. We see people having issues about stuff that they haven't fixed their own personal issues first,
Right.
and that's not what it is. I believe fix yourself first, fix your job, your family, fix all of that stuff, and then you can be happier.
Stathis Antonakopoulos. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, everybody.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming on. We're down to our last 5 minutes here. If I was to rapid fire, in the last 2 minutes, what's the biggest lesson you've learned building Carnegie Group so far?
The biggest lesson to learn is not take no for an answer. If I took
I
no
like
for an
that.
answer every single time, I will never have even a single restaurant. So every time somebody tells me you cannot do this, that tells me, okay, I haven't tried hard enough and I have to find out. The nose is for negative people. I don't like anything negative. I like to use only positive words. And even in the here in the offices, my marketing team, everything, like when you do a post, you're like, don't do this and buy our cake. I'm like, you don't use negative words. You make sure you always use positive words. I believe in positivity. I believe in the power of the universe that gives us. I believe in power of God, and I believe in the power of human. And if you think positive and you believe, for me, it's not just a Ted Lasso sign. Believing is it comes to your mind and it comes to your heart, and you can do anything. You can be the next president of the United States. You can be the next governor. You can be the next mayor. You can be the next CEO. You can do it if you believe it and you put your heart mind into working on it and get every step of the way.
Stathis, thank you so much for joining the show. I know it's been quite a ride getting here. We'll have to have you back on sometime because we didn't even touch
Absolutely.
Carnegie. Everyone at home, one more reminder for the financial piece we talked about. This is not investing advice. This is our opinion and not to be taken as professional advice. Please speak with a professional financial advisor if you are thinking about investing in any of the companies we mentioned. Stathis, thank you very much.
Tyler, thank you for having me over. Happy 4th of July and have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Have a great 4th of July.
Bye.